So I decided to discuss this situation that went down on Threads, where there was a sale that went on Amazon where you can get like physical media or even ebooks for like, way cheaper, like 50% off or something like that. And so a lot of people complained, like, oh, don't support Amazon, support these support these indie bookstores and everything. And I could kind of see both sides to the argument, but I wanted to kind of go over like different people and the things that they had to say. So one person's like, Amazon is the bad guys. Yes, we know. Their business practices are not good. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire, and he honestly doesn't need to be. There's a lot of companies that I really think have really shitty business practices. Amazon is one. Temu is another one. Same thing with Shein. How many people still go to Forever 21 and they've been known to have slave labor? And yet you still shop at Forever 21. So spare me the putting yourself up on a fucking pedestal and acting like, oh, Amazon's just evil corporation. There's a lot of evil corporations and they're still in fucking business. If you don't want to support them, don't. But for me, there are indie authors who are on there who have jobs and are supporting themselves because of Amazon. So they said Amazon is the bad guys. The occasional good thing they do and lower prices don't make up for the harm that they have directly inflicted on American society. And globally, when considering the likelihood of things like child labor in creating things bought on Amazon. Hello, I just said this. Forever 21, some of these other clothing lines do child labor. Where were you years ago when people were talking about this? They aren't the best thing for consumers. They do not care about consumers. Yeah, because they care about money, as a lot of corporate businesses do. They care about money. That's their bottom line. They do not care about consumers. They care about making the rich richer. Of course. Even though that makes the poor, aka you and I, poorer. And that's all needs to be addressed systematically. And I love these people who kind of like go on their pedestal and act like this is like the first time that we've ever fucking heard this conversation. We've been saying this for years, and yet you motherfuckers still support these fucking companies. You still support these companies. You still support Temu. You still support Shein. You still support these companies. I don't see it stopping. Shipments still are coming, from here, from fucking China and all these other fucking companies that charge their workers fucking pennies. And you still do it. Okay. But you don't fix problems you don't see. Posts pointing out the issues Amazon is causing at a rate very disproportionate to mom and pop shops are right to do. Are right to do it. Walmart, anybody? Walmart comes into towns and just takes away all the mom and pop shops because Walmart's a huge fucking corporate entity and has a ton of shit in there for cheap. So what do you think is going to happen? These mom and pop shops who charge how much higher prices because they need to pay for their overhead and everything, they go out of business. But this is how capitalism works. This is how capitalism works. This is how the free market works. You have competition. Are you saying that we should get rid of the whole free market and capitalism and live under some other ways? It doesn't work. Because the people are still going to be poor and the rich are still going to be rich. That's just how it works. Okay, so it says post pointing out the issues Amazon is causing at a rate very disproportionate to mom and pop shops are right to do it. Consumers need to be aware of the hidden costs involved in that low price tag. A lot of people know about this shit. They don't care. A lot of people don't care. And yeah, it sucks to be reminded that the place we sometimes have no good alternative for is a terrible place to give our money to. It doesn't feel good, but it shouldn't feel good. And that's not on the posts pointing out the problems. That's on Amazon. Of course, Amazon needs to have better factory, their warehouses need to be, these people need to be treated better. Of course. This is why there's so many people who quit that job. They don't last at Amazon. And honestly, I would say to their workers, strike. That's the only way you're going to get anything done at this company, is you need to unionize and strike and say, we're not going to work under these conditions. These demands need to be met. And you don't have scabs. You don't have people going in and going and working. Meanwhile, you're protesting. Everyone has a right to do that. If you're under a union, you have more protections. There are things that are bad about unions too, so I don't think it's 100% great, but it's better than not being under a union, So that's what I think needs to happen. Same thing with like Walmart. Are these Walmart workers unionized? Get unionized, That's the only way any of these companies are going to do any change. This is what happened back in the day with other companies. So they decided to form these unions, and the unions protected their workers. So this person says, what I don't understand is handing out the same guilt trip for getting a book from the library. When did libraries become problematic? And so another person's like, a lot of the onus to do better should absolutely not be on the consumer. Amazon is just as integral to the publishers to distribute books. Stop letting people guilt you on this. Exactly. You cannot guilt people for doing what makes sense from a consumer price point. Another one's like, the irony is that as an indie author, I make 2 times as much when my books sell on Amazon versus an indie bookstore. If they even deemed me worthy of gracing their hallowed walls. And that's the thing. There are a lot of independent bookstores that don't sell indie authors. Man, one of my things that I would love to do, even if it is not profitable for me, I wouldn't care at this point. But I would love it if I was able to win the lottery and have millions of dollars, because I would open up an independent bookstore that sells just indie authors. And I wouldn't care if I barely get a profit. That to me would be like a passion product, project for me, where it gives me something to do and I'm helping out indie authors, I don't care if it's not profitable, maybe I would have a coffee shop in it, to where the coffee shop sales is what helps kind of keep my business afloat, I would have something like that. But yeah, I would love to do that, because I love indie authors so much more than traditionally published authors lately. Though no hate to them either. They're trying to do their best too. But yeah, if I won millions of dollars, that would be my passion project. Would be owning a bookstore, where I run. Maybe I hired obviously other people to work there too, and it's all indie authors, whether it's romance, horror, thriller, whatever have you. They're indie authors, all indie authors. That would be awesome. I would love that. And it'd give me something to do, It'd give me something to do all day instead of sitting around and counting my millions. I would do that. I would do that. Even if it's a cost to me every month, I would be like, it's worth it, That's what I would do, because that's the type of person I am though. You know, I am more of a generous person. So if I had money, I would be donating to, like, you know, charities, as long as I know the charity is a good charity and they are a nonprofit charity. You know, some of these charities say they're a charity and they're really not, you know, they profit themselves. So yeah, it would be nice if that would happen, because that's what I would do, is I would have like this coffee shop attached to my indie bookstore, and the profits of, you know, how much, you know, with the coffee, it would probably help fund the book side of it, you know. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's a dream, you know. And I'm like, if somebody would just give me the winning lottery numbers, we'd be okay, you know. One person's like, never mind the fact none of my local indies sell diverse books. No black romance, black fantasies, nothing. And then I gotta pay $25 for a paperback if they do order it. Let's be so serious. I'm like, yeah. One person's like, well, I do think being an informed consumer is good. I do not think anyone should be shamed or made to feel guilty for their financial choices. I am lucky to have found quite a few good indie stores across California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico that had awesome sale racks with books between $5 to $10. If I had to pay full price for every single book, I wouldn't be able to shop indie frequently either. Amazon is not my favorite choice, but sometimes it is unavoidable. And that's the thing, like, there are ways that you can support the author. Like, if an indie author that you love, if they have a website, order from their website. Order from their website. Don't order from Amazon. Order from the author's website. If they do autographs, you can get an autograph too, you know? And if you want to pay the prices, just pay those to the author, you know? It benefits the author more than it benefits Amazon, you know? And for me, that's what I think more people could be doing, is go to this author's website. If they do sell their books online, you know, on their website, buy them, you know, buy them on there. If you know of like any other stores, like independent bookstores that sell the books that you're looking for, buy from there. Don't buy from Amazon. But sometimes you have to buy from Amazon. There are some authors I know that I love that are indie authors, and they don't really have much of, you know, like a social media or even like a website and stuff like that. And so I have no choice but to, you know, buy from Amazon, you know? So, I mean, that's the downside, is that I've been ordering from Amazon for years because it was things that I was able to find that I can't find in my city, you know? I can go to like how many stores and I can't find what I'm looking for, you know? So I ended up finding it on Amazon. And yes, I do hate the fact that it is a billion-dollar industry and they pay their workers for shit. They treat their workers like shit. They treat the drivers like crap. I empathize with all of that. I really do. But it's hard to kind of like get away from something like that when you can't afford anything else. I only am able to afford so much every month. I have to pay bills. You know, I only have a certain amount of money that comes in. I have to pay bills. You know, I have to go and, you know, get stuff for my daughters. That shit costs a lot. Food costs a lot of money, you know? Paying your rent. Like, I live in California. It's fucking expensive here. You know, if I'm able to move out of state, if it's cheaper to like physically live, then I would have a little more money to work with, you know? But as it stands, you know, a lot of places are, you know, ridiculously overpriced, you know? So if you can go and get inflation down, you know, tackle inflation and get inflation down, and get like fast food places down and groceries down, people could afford to buy more books from indie bookstores. When you go and you guilt these people, all it does is just piss people off. That's all it does. It doesn't incentivize, it doesn't make things better for you. And then there was a company in here that I was like, you guys really are looking like an asshole. You really are. And I don't really want to support that company. You know, I don't really support that company. I understand their frustrations, like if they are really struggling, I get it, but we're all fucking struggling. We're all trying to get by, you know? And yeah, the rich have no idea what we're going through because they have more money than us, you know? And that's the unfortunate thing. So another person says, I live in the middle of nowhere. My closest bookstore is 2 hours away. Amazon is my best friend, and y'all, even Amazon be expensive now. How y'all affording bookstore prices in this economy? One person's like, exactly, I'll pay indie book prices for signed copies or special editions, but if it's just a regular book, I'm buying from the place with the best price. And one's like, I don't understand how they not only do not understand that, but even more try to shame people. It's laughable. Another person's like, small bookstores cannot compete with Amazon. No shit, we know this. Amazon loses money on books on purpose and negotiates lower wholesale prices with the publishers. Small shops pay more for books and pay rent, bills, and no one hits up Amazon for free stuff for their kids' school, which we give because we serve our community. And person's like, we know. All I'm saying is that we don't need to be guilted about it. One person's like, I make around $1 per book through the distributor indies use. I make $5 per book through Amazon. It's hard on both sides. Person's like, wait, you're getting books 3 times cheaper from Amazon? Wild. One person's like, depends on the book, but usually at least half as much for newer releases. If I have a pre-order, the price always drops before release from the MSRP. Then older books will come down in price even more, while bookshops will still charge MSRP. One person's like, same. I'd love to support my indie booksellers if there were some in my area, but I can't afford books at a higher cost. What bothers me are the booksellers who post, our shop isn't doing good because we can't compete with whomever, and we will go out of business if you don't buy from us. Which I can understand, but I can't afford to buy from you. I'm sorry, but life is so expensive, and my wage is not getting bigger. Exactly. I have, in LA, there is the store that is the Ripped Bodice. I can't get there, you know. I cannot get to LA. It's a bit of a stretch. Parking sucks. The city is on fire, you know, with homelessness and all kinds of criminal activity. So that's not a place I really want to go to. So I have to order from Ripped Bodice's website if I want to support them as an independent bookstore. So recently I went and bought a book that was higher than what Amazon has it, and I bought 2 things that were merch there. I bought a tote that said the Ripped Bodice on it, and I also bought a t-shirt that said the name on it. That's how I can support the independent bookstore. That's how I can support them, is that, and and that cost me like how much money just for those 3 items? You know, I can't do that every month. I can't afford it. You know, I could help them out every now and again, but they need some other like people who could support them and help them out. I'm just one person. And it's the same thing with all these other people. Like, we're just one person. There's only so much we can do, you know? And I try to help out. Like, there's a used bookstore that's right, you know, down the street from me, and I bought like $100 worth of books the one day from her store, but I can't do that every month or every week to keep that woman's business in business. And then most of what she has are books I'm not even interested in. You know, like she has a very small romance section, and some of the romance books I'm not into. And she works on donations. She doesn't even like, you know, buy any books. She goes and just gets donations, and that's it. You know? So this one person's like, love that I got blocked by an indie bookseller for saying some indie booksellers shame folks who buy books from Amazon. FYI, this is one of many posts where booksellers found it and it wasn't great. Also, if you're an indie bookseller, maybe don't come after potential customers for shopping sales on Amazon. It's not a good look. Some folks are simply not meant to work with the public, and it shows. Another person's like, don't buy discounted damaged books. Don't buy from Amazon. Don't get books from the library, etc. are all such classist rules. Think about what you're demanding. Think about how you're pushing the idea that only the rich deserve literacy. One person's like, I support not buying books from Amazon since they're trying and succeeding to close down every bookstore in the US. There are other ways to get cheap/free books without supporting Amazon. Yes, where? Please give us examples where. So this one called bookshop.org says, so why are books on Amazon so cheap? Cheap books are a loss leader. This is a strategy that companies use when they discount a product so low they lose money as a way to attract new customers or get you to buy other products. Toilet paper, anyone? And for books, this is also a tactic to drive competitors out of business. Cheap books help the Zon gain market control, which will give them a near monopoly power. Yes, we know this. I haven't played the game Monopoly in a while, but I do know that that wouldn't be good for anyone, authors, readers, or publishers. This is why it's important to support local bookstores when you can. Shop in real life with them. Yeah, I do. And I can't do it every month. I'm sorry. Buy books online at bookshop.org. Yeah, you're promoting yourself. Yes, that's me. Get your audiobooks from Libro. There's Libro FM, which Libro FM was the one that blocked that other person. I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks. I have some audiobooks, but I don't listen to a lot of them. I can't purchase every audiobook. So I go and I have a subscription that I use where I can listen to how many audiobooks a month if I want to. And it's like, what, $9.99, $11.99 or something like that. It's not that much. I can't pay for every audiobook. I'm sorry. I just can't do that. So this person's like, I had to reduce the Ingram Spark discount to bookstores to 40% so I could make more than 60 cents on my $17 paperback. Indie authors are out here trying to make a go at this. We're caught in the middle between indie bookstores that won't carry us to big bookstores that won't carry us to Ingram, who makes it cost prohibitive / downright insulting to work with, to Amazon, who is the only real marketplace for us to make a go at self-publishing. What are our options as indie authors? So the one person responded to the bookshop.org and said, but most of my favorite authors are indie authors, so I can only get them from Amazon or the author directly. And I responded and I said, same, most of what I read are indie authors, so there's only so many places I can get the author's physical books. So an author had posted and said, Amazon is putting indie bookstores out of business. And she says, no, Barnes & Noble puts indie bookstores out of business. Have you never seen You've Got Mail? And then Barnes & Noble began to expand their inventory to random crap. Only sold books publishers paid them to stock, and a recession kicked in. To make up losses, prices skyrocketed. You could no longer buy the books you wanted to read. Amazon stepped in and filled a void that Barnes & Noble created. Barnes & Noble was the original villain. So Libro FM had said, ICYMI, I don't know what that is. Amazon can afford to run huge sales on books because they don't depend on book sales to stay in business. They don't pay local taxes. They don't invest in their local community. So instead of shopping their book sale today, support your local indie. P.S. All sale audiobooks on Libro FM are 30% off today through the 20th with code Not Today's Satan. And so the person responded with, oh, for fuck's sake. It's also the primary platform for indie authors to publish, and you're shitting on them by posting this. So another person responded to the bookshop.org one and says, I set my own prices on Amazon and Ingram. So whether my books are cheap or not is completely up to me. I make money on Amazon. I do not make money on Ingram. The royalty share on Ingram is garbage, and bookstores don't purchase indie books. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk about why this post is bullshit. Another person said, my reader pet peeve is people who complain that they didn't like a book simply because, oh wait, that's a different one. That's a different argument. And then I have another one. These are all out of order because I went and I screenshot. Okay, I know other people were talking about this. Yeah. This person says, just your friendly reminder that supporting indie bookstores does not mean supporting indie authors, because most of them will not stock indie authors, and many authors cannot afford to be stocked by those who do. Criticize Amazon all you want, there's plenty to say, but it makes self-publishing possible for us. Buying our books through Amazon is still supporting indie. Yes, and that's the thing. Amazon doesn't make a lot of money through Kindle Unlimited. They pretty much go at like a loss because there's other things that you purchase while you're on the website. So that's why I would tell people, like, if you just want to support the indie authors, just do that. Don't purchase anything else off of Amazon. Don't purchase anything else off of Amazon. Shop your local stores if need be, because that's how you support your economy for your city, for your town, is shopping local. You know, so if you don't want to support Amazon, don't support Amazon, but you could still support the indie authors that are a part of the Kindle Unlimited program, or a part of Kindle where they get, you know, you pay a little bit of a fee to pay for some Kindle books, as long as it's not over a certain amount. And so that's how you support these authors. And then if you go and you really like their book through Kindle Unlimited and you want to purchase it, find their website. If they have a website and they actually have books, you know, that they've gotten printed out themselves, buy them from the author's website. That's how you support these authors. So one person's like, this, I see all the posts telling people not to buy books off of Amazon, and I'm over here whisper crying, please do, I have groceries to buy, lights to keep on. I don't think people realize how much it'll hurt indie writers. So one person had responded to the other person, had said, support indie authors while indie authors actually feel supported. It says, which is different for all of them. And I had said, most of what I read are indie authors, so I support them on Amazon with buying their ebooks / borrowing them from Kindle Unlimited. And if I like their book enough, I will purchase the physical copy for my shelves. I just recently bought from an independent bookstore, but the majority of what they have in stock are trad published books, and I'm not a huge fan of buying those. I don't like Amazon's practices, but I'm still supporting my indie authors through that company. One person's like, I feel like people forget that the big companies are the ones who can afford to take punches. They will always pass costs off on someone else. Amazon offers the best physical royalties. Many indie authors solely survive on the Zon. Amazon doesn't support small businesses. I am a small business, and they sure support me and also a ton of other indie authors. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. One's like, yes, I'll never understand authors who don't get that. Are they perfect? God, no. But they've given me a career and a life I could have only dreamed about, and continue to do so every day. And so the person responded back and says, feel exactly this way. They give us a stage with access to millions of readers. It would be ridiculously difficult / impossible to find those readers elsewhere because you're not traditionally published. This is why you go through indie publishing. Small businesses do great via Amazon, but people tend to see the Zon as a looming behemoth rather than a facilitator. For my part, I'm grateful beyond words for the life they've given me. One person's like, I get that it's frightening that they control so much of the industry, but I wouldn't have had books in any reader's hands, probably ever, without them. They are a business intent on making money, and we are capitalists. Not only authors, Amazon is the biggest shop for print on demand. Thousands of graphic designers have the possibility to put their designs on t-shirts, hoodies, pillows, phone cases. Surely they suck in some ways, but to have your own shop, you have so much support to do. You need to get people find the shop. It says there are other shops, but they have either bad quality or not enough customers. And that's the thing, like there are third-party sellers on there that make money off of Amazon, you know, because there's other places that are competitors, like you have Etsy, there's some other places, eBay, things like that, that take a cut. So I mean, Amazon obviously takes a cut too when it comes to third-party sellers. They probably take a percentage. And all of these companies do that. Etsy does it, eBay does it, all these places do that. They all take a cut because they are a fucking business. That's what they do. So one person's like, I'm going to regret wading into this discourse, but I'm a 6-figure author because of Amazon, whereas my local indie bookstore refuses to stock my books. Yes, Amazon has its huge issues, but wow, it has allowed so many books to be released into the world that never would have seen the light of day otherwise. Exactly. And allowed so many authors to make a really good living off of writing. Another person's like this, and I don't like the all or nothing narrative of those posts I see, because we can do both. We can support local with the selection they have and support indie wherever they publish. You know, X the Zon. It's exactly, I love indie bookstores. I want more of them to succeed. And yeah, exactly. Like I do like indie bookstores, and like I said, there is at least one that's close to me that is an indie bookstore, and I try to support them the best I can. But like I said, they don't have a huge selection that I can go there and buy, you know? So I go in there and I'll look and see, but I may not find anything. May not find like maybe 1 or 2 books that I'll pick up, you know? So there's only so much I can do with that one. There was a store that was like down the street, that was another independent bookstore that had a ton of romance books, and I love that store, but I wasn't able to go to them every month, you know, and pick up books, because there's only so much space I have in my apartment for books, you know, and they would have like a ton of used books, you know. So there's only so much that I can physically do. And they were there for like 30 years, you know, like 30 or 40 years. They were in that same spot, you know. It was a little tiny, you know, hole in the wall little business that was there for like 30 to 40 years, but they eventually had to go out, and it was the Panini, you know, 2020 hit, and it really did damage to their business. And so they had to just basically close shop. And it's sad, but what can you do? There's only so much that you can do to support an indie business. One person's like, yes, if you write in a popular genre, but for one author who has had your experience with sales, 10 are in the opposite situation. Indie bookstores are businesses, and unlike Amazon, they cannot afford to take a gamble on books that might not sell. They might not have the room either. I could understand that. I totally get it. And so the person responded back and says, I'm not blaming my local indie bookstore. There are many reasons indie stores don't stock indie authors, and I'm grateful to have my book in indie stores across the world. However, those sales were never going to allow me to quit my job. One person said, I think it's easy for those who aren't on the inside to look at Amazon and go, corporate greed is bad. But without them, many authors wouldn't have a platform, and many wouldn't have been able to get their careers off the ground. And it's so funny that these people who say, oh, this is a corporate greed place, how many of you motherfuckers do I see read constant trad published books? I don't see you supporting indie authors. Nope. Silent. No indie authors do I see you supporting. I see you supporting all of the popular books that are trad published. And I'm not saying don't support trad published books. You could support them, but you need to be supporting these indie authors, because they're the ones that are struggling the most in this. I hate this whole pile on Amazon trend, because everyone participating act like Amazon is the only problem. The issue in the publishing world runs deep, and there are multiple corporations and entities to blame. And Amazon has entrenched themselves in a way that shutting them down would be harmful to a lot of authors and readers. Exactly. Like I said, most of what I read are indie authors. How are they supposed to get their books out any other way if no one else has any fucking competition with Amazon. Create a fucking business that competes with Amazon, but treats their workers better. There's a fucking idea. You know, it's called the free market. I get irritated every time this conversation comes up. I'm happy to support indie bookstores. I love my local one, and she's kind enough to do co-signment. But quite frankly, unless you have your own online store, Amazon is the best way to support indie authors. When Ingram Sparks stops paying me pennies, I'll stop prioritizing Amazon. So another person had responded to the other person and said 100%. One indie bookstore wanted me to lower my wholesale discount for my book when I'm already profiting around $1 on a $15 book. I'm sorry to say this, but I make a lot more per book when it sells on Amazon or even read on KU. Indie bookstores willing to buy from authors directly are rare and wonderful. We love you. And so another person had said they were basically talking about the Libro FM, and said a minimum of 95% of indie authors, including those who started indie and moved to trad pub or hybrid, exist only because Amazon built up platforms for self-publishing. It's easy to blame Amazon for everything and pin all the publishing problems on them, and they are not blameless in the least. But we would not be here writing books that become audios that are then distributed by Libro FM without Amazon. Ruby Dixon, for example. Ruby Dixon, Katie Robert, all these other people that were indie authors that became traditionally published. Penelope Douglas, I think, was traditionally published, and then she went to indie, and then she became traditionally published again. Because her one book there, Misconduct, I think, was traditionally published, but her other books, I think, like her Bully series was traditionally published, and then she did a bunch of books that were all indie published, and then those books ended up getting picked up by a publisher and they became traditionally published. So those authors benefited from being indies, and they got so popular through indies that they became traditionally published. So if it wasn't for Amazon having that way for people, none of you probably would even know these authors. One person's like, hi, okay, yes, this is all I'm going to say about this. I have a Kindle. I pay for KU. I read a lot of indie authors because of it. When I start buying books again, I will purchase the indie books I love via Amazon if that's the only place to get them. I also hate Amazon and Bezos. I hate how drivers have to pee in cups in their vans. I hate how employees die in the warehouses because conditions are so unsafe. I hate a lot of things about them. Both can be true. Exactly. Like I said, I hate Amazon, the corporation. There are so many things that they could be doing right. They could be doing right, and they're not. They treat their workers like shit. I empathize with this, but they also do things that are good too, that help these indie authors. And me, I'm going to support my indie authors the best way I can. And if that means through Amazon, that's what I'm going to do. It's 2024, and we all are capable of nuance, I promise you. That goes for all of us. Rightfully shitting on Amazon does not mean we should all stop using it to access indie authors. Perhaps we can get our traditionally published books elsewhere, though. Yeah? Another person responded and said, this is how I approach it. I have a Kindle and KU. The first read I read using KU. 2, if I want to reread, I will buy it. That's commendable. 3, if that book is now wide after my KU read, I will purchase Attempt from the author directly. 4, if I can't get it from the author, I will try other bookstores first. 5, if I can't find it elsewhere, I will use Amazon. I am making it sound complicated, but it's just my system now. KU has opened me up to the entire world of indie authors. That's a good thing. Exactly. And that's exactly what you can do. You can go and purchase, if these authors, these indie authors, have websites and they sell their books on there, buy them through there. Buy them through the author. The authors really appreciate it when you buy them through their website because they get more of the profits back. Amazon takes a lot of the profits. They take profits, from the books. The author would get all of the profit. So doesn't it make sense to do that? One person, it's me. I said exactly, if these indie authors have their own website, I will purchase directly from the author for a physical book. Another one's like, exactly, like we should hate the system and try to fix that instead of shaming people who just want affordable options. Yep. So another person had responded to Libro FM and said, Amazon is the only place where I can afford to publish my books. So if you support indie authors, Amazon is a good place to do it. Not saying Amazon isn't evil or doesn't have its issues, but saying to ignore Amazon and only shop indie bookstores when they don't care most of the books I write or want to read is not it. Like I said, these indie bookstores, either they're used bookstores, which are going to have a ton of traditionally published books in there, or B, they go and sell trad published books, but at a higher cost than maybe Barnes & Noble and a higher cost than Amazon. So if you want to support that, that's fine. You can do that. But for a lot of us who read mainly indie authors, we have to support our indie authors the best way we can through whatever means they go through. So this person had said, kind of tired of the whole indie bookstores don't stock indie authors, so fuck them. That's not what we're saying. I was published by a small press, have never had an agent. Good for you. Let me do the fucking golf clap. I was also the inventory manager for an indie bookstore, and I published a small zine. My old store stocked and still stocks books by indie writers, i.e. small press and self-publish, but there are reasons why we would not stock an indie writer's book, and they are 1 out of 6 he has. 1, a book with non-returnable. We'd absolutely special order it for a customer if the customer agreed to prepay for it, but we weren't going to order it and leave it on the shelf. There's never ever any guarantee the book would sell, which meant we were stuck with it. Returnable books that don't sell can be returned to the distributor or publisher for credit against future orders. It keeps costs down. 2, a book had a short discount or no discount from the distributor or publisher. The minimum standard is 40% off the cover price. The Big Five can offer 50 to 60%. That 40% pays booksellers, rent, electricity, etc. to run the business. A book with a short discount means we'd have to raise the price to cover our margin. If the customer was okay with that, we'd special order the book for them. But an indie bookstore can't stay open stocking short discount books and selling them at the cover price. 3, the final reason we wouldn't stock an indie book was the author refused to use our co-assignment program, generally because they thought our terms were quote-unquote bad. They aligned with industry standards, but not all indie bookstores have co-assignment programs because they are risky. Writers don't read the contract, don't bother to tell people the book is available at the store, and some abandon the books or angrily blame booksellers for not selling a book no customer asked for. Being a writer is not easy. Being a writer who doesn't understand how the business of books operates is even harder. The first thing my indie press told me was to make friends with my local indie bookstore. I told them I was the inventory manager and my girlfriend worked there too. Oh, so easy for you. Asshole. 15 years later, I don't work there anymore, but the store still stocks my book because I shop there. My book meets the rules above, and whenever I can, I tell people to buy it. So learn how the business of publishing and book selling really works, not the ranty hate version spewed online. Have a little humility. Make friends with your local indie bookstore and use their co-assignment program if they have one. There are a lot of great resources out there. I'll start with at Writer's Digest. I might even post a list later. Good luck out there. So This person responded and said, I feel like this was directed at me. So let me be clear here. I do not care about being in bookstores. I am in exactly one because she is kind enough to buy my books from me directly on consignment, so I don't need to be on Ingram Spark. I determined very early on in my author career that was a low priority for me. There are hassle with lots of fees, and the required discounts, 40 to 55%, meant that even if I were stocked in stores, I would be making cents on the paperback. This discount also doesn't apply to retailers as they only get around 5%. This is before we talk about returns. The horror stories of authors getting charged $5,000 to $10,000 because of returned books stuck in my brain a long time. It's often required to get into bookstores, which I understand, but it makes it financially risky, and most indie authors have them turned off. Getting into bookstores has a lot of non-financial benefits, exposure, legitimacy, and it's an author goal for many, but I put it off because of the risks involved with working with IS. And there is not another option. They are the only printing game in town, the only one bookstores use. They are a complete monopoly and one that all bookstores use. Add to this the many, many stories of nervous indie authors being all but laughed out of their local indie because self-published books are still stigmatized in much of the bookseller world. Indie bookstores would rather carry bestsellers, which makes sense, but it shuts out many other authors, including trad authors, including diverse authors who have been shut out of trad publishing. So when I say that indie bookstores don't support indie authors, this is what I'm talking about. I am not asking for them to change. I understand that stocking any and all indies is not a feasible option, but I'm asking them to respect us, to not treat us like children who don't know their business. We do. And also to stop making their whole advertising around the idea that Amazon is the worst monopoly in publishing. Ingram Spark is, and that's the horse you're all backing. Damn, girl. That's why I said, give me the winning lottery numbers, because I really want to open up an indie bookstore. All indie books, no matter what it is. All indie books, all indie authors. Trad published authors have Amazon. They have all these other bookstores. They have independent bookstores. They get their books out there. I would love to have the winning lottery numbers, so I can open up my own store and coffee shop and just be there all day, with the books, and, have it to where I'm selling indie authors, And of course, I'd have to obviously do social media and different things like that to kind of like show people like, this is what we sell, different stuff like that. And also the authors would have to hype up the store too, to let them know, hey, I'm at this bookstore, go here. There are people who will travel. There will people who will travel to the store to do that, because there are people out there who will support indie authors if they know they're at a bookstore, Man, that's a dream, that's a dream. So this person's like kind of sick of the don't buy books from Amazon messages. I get it. Love to support local bookshops, but sometimes Amazon is the only viable option and no one should be shamed for it. One person's like, you have no idea how hard it is to get smaller / indie releases when you live in a non-English country. Sometimes Amazon is literally the only one who even lists them. And so she says, I feel you. I don't live in the US, but I choose to read in English, and Kindle has been a lifesaver. Another person's like, as someone who lives in Spain, where finding books in English is quite difficult, Amazon saves my ass every single time. Before it was Book Depository, rest in peace, but now Amazon is the only option I have. It's good to hear this. As someone who collects very niche books and often in foreign language, Amazon is my go-to. I will use bookshops, of course, but I refuse to be berated if it is my only option. As an indie author on Amazon, I'll tell you 75% of my income comes from them. If people stop using Amazon, it would hurt or destroy a lot of indie writers. Draft to digital and other outlets just don't have the readers, although it could change if everyone left Amazon en masse, but I don't see that happening. One person's like, I also tend to buy specific books instead of browsing for books. In which case, smaller bookshops pose a challenge of having them in stock. Exactly. How many times I go to like Barnes & Noble, which is a corporation, and they will not have some of the books that I'm looking for. Even if it's traditionally published, sometimes they don't have it. And so now I have to go and tell them like, hey, can you get this in stock? And it'll take like how many days for them to get it in stock, for me to get it. So sometimes it's easier just to go and look for it on Amazon. Oh, there it is. Let me order it. Even Barnes & Noble lacks stock sometimes. Additionally, Amazon actually loses money when you buy books. So if you're looking to stick it to the man, shop Amazon. And so another person had responded to another person and said this: Amazon's existence has allowed far more authors to be published and to earn money as authors than any other system in human history ever has, including many of my friends. Another person's like this: I dislike a lot about Amazon, but at the end of the day, they're making it possible for me to make money as an author. My local indie, however, doesn't have a romance section, much less stocks indie romance. And this is the problem I have with my one indie store down the street from me. That is a used bookstore. She has, like, when I go into the romance section, it's a tiny space. You're talking about the size of my closet. And there's one shelf here, romance. Then there's one little tiny shelf here, romance. And then another one where it doesn't even go full romance, and then it goes right into mysteries. Very little romance. And so I'm like, I think I'm probably one of the people in my city that reads exclusively romance most of the time, you know? So for me, it's like, I can't really go there and support that business every month because they don't have a mass amount of romance books. Where like that other bookstore that had closed down, they had a ton of romance. And I miss that store. And there's another bookstore that I would consider, it's a corporate store, because they have how many businesses in different states. Like there's how many in Utah and how many other ones. Can't remember what it's called, but they are up north in California. You're talking that's like a 6-hour drive from me. I can't just go up to that bookstore and go look for some used books, you know? So I'm stuck with what I have locally. And like I said, I have that other indie bookstore that's in LA that I have to order from them on their website. And I can go and look for indie authors and they'll be like, oh no, it's not in their stock, but I can order it from them. Like the one book I ordered, it wasn't in their stock. So I had ordered it anyway, and it's going to take like additional how many days for it to come to me, which I'm like, okay, fine. I'll wait, you know, I'll wait on it. But it was an actual book that if I would have saw that by myself, I would have never picked it up, because it has one of those stupid illustrated covers that I'm like, it looks ugly. But because I trust this one booktuber and she said it was a really good book, I'm going to pick it up. So I picked it up from the indie bookstore in LA. So I got that. And then, you know, if they have any other swag or something else that I can go and purchase from them that will help them out, then I will do that if I can, you know. But like I said, I can't do it every month. You know, and I don't have all these other places. The next place that I know that's right close to me is Barnes & Noble, and they're a corporate. They're not an indie bookstore. One person's like, I went through the extra steps and expense of starting an LLC, buying my own ISBNs, and getting an Ingram Spark account so my books could be available at indie bookstores. And it was a pain in the ass and hundreds of dollars that a lot of self-published indie authors just don't have. Amazon makes point of entry accessible to people just starting out and testing the waters of their authorship careers. I know a lot of us don't like Amazon, but not liking a fact doesn't change the fact. So this one person's like, I hear Amazon is having a big book sale tomorrow, but what if we all just went to our local bookstores instead? This is the problem. So this person responded and said, we would if local bookstores supported indie authors. So I had said, yep, 99% of the books I buy on Amazon are indie published books. I have an independent bookstore 45 minutes from me, but they mostly sell trad published books. I can sometimes buy from them, but mostly all I can do is buy any merch they sell, which I said I just recently bought from the Rip Bodis. I wish I could help them out more, but I'm not into most trad published books. So another person had responded to the other person and said, this is why I have KU. This is why I recognize that the Amazon issue is more complex for publishing than it is for the vast majority of their warehouse products. Amazon/KDP absolutely revolutionized self-publishing. I remember researching it before KDP as a teen, and there was basically nothing. Vanity publishers, essentially. And yes, there are other options, but this is the one that really changed everything. Is it perfect? Hell no. There are so many issues, but it's not black and white. So one person had responded to the other guy who I said was an asshole and said, since you know how the business of publishing and bookselling really works, I hope you understand that much of the ire you see online is not actually directed at the booksellers, but at Ingram Spark, who ties everyone's hands. Indie authors do set a 40 to 60% discount on our titles in the Ingram catalog. Our indie bookseller partners only receive the thinnest margin of that, 5% according to several of the stores with whom I do direct business. We understand the why behind indie bookstores not carrying indie titles, but when the same billionaires who control the book buying system use their social media arms to pretend that Amazon is the only bully in the building, Amazon being the platform providing indie authors with careers, you can't expect folks to just swallow it down. I get it. You may not like that so many indie authors are pro-Amazon, but we need to get paid too. I am now understanding the bullshit all creatives go through with pricing their work, figuring out if they make a profit, and then seeing people only shop at stores they don't carry our work. I'm privileged enough to have my own online shop, but many aren't. And don't demonize the machine that we all have to work within to try and survive. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And some of these authors, I will look them up and I will see if they have a book that looks interesting to me, and I will read them. That's how I will support these people. I will go into into the Kindle Unlimited and see if they're a part of it, or if they have if their book's $3.99, $4.99, I will pay that price to go and read their books. And if I want to read more, then I will go onto their website, if they do have a website, and I will try to purchase their books from there. That's how I help out these authors. So this person said, peeps, can we please stop trying to make authors, especially indie authors, out to be evil or wrong for using KU as an option to publish? Look, I prefer Kobo Plus, but ZFG if KU is the viable option for an author. This is all over my feed, and it's the silliest argument. Do you want to be able to read their work in some format, or do you want to complain? Like it or not, KU has more than 150 million readers a month. Kobo doesn't have that reach yet. I just want to read, so I'll get my books wherever. And yeah, Kobo Plus, I did look into it, and I did sign up for it. But then it was maybe like a couple weeks after I signed up for it that I was like, I didn't really care for it. I don't really care for Kobo Plus. It has to get a lot better in order for me to support that company than Amazon. Amazon still has that market to where I'm able to see a lot of indie authors through at least the Kindle Unlimited program. And I'm able to support those authors that way. So I think, oh, here we go. I have a couple more and that's it. This person's regarding the indie bookstore conversation. Let me start by saying bookstores and authors are both businesses who are trying to make money, and ultimately their actions are guided by that fact. A store has to be profitable or close. An author can't sell books at a loss. Supporting your community goes both ways. You should support your local libraries and bookstores, but they should also be supporting their local authors and giving them a shot, and they're not. So that was it for those screenshots that I got. And it's true. Like I said, I try to support my local bookstores, you know, whether they are a corporation or an indie bookstore. I try to support them the best I can. I can't shop them every month, you know. Maybe if I had millions of dollars, I'd be able to do that, you know. And a big house with a huge fucking library, maybe I'd be able to do that. But I can't. So there's only so much I can do. So most of the books that I read are through Kindle Unlimited, through Amazon. Yes, Amazon is Amazon's the big bad. I realize that. But that's the only option available to me. So this is what I'm going to do and continue to do. You know, you can support these authors on Kindle Unlimited, and you cannot buy anything else off of Amazon. You know, their biggest thing is you being what's the term that they use for grocery stores? Whenever you go into the grocery store, there's always like those options right by where you pay. Impulse buy. That's what it is. Amazon counts on you impulse buying. Hence why they've wanted to do several of these brick and mortar stores, because they know impulse buy is their best thing for selling. Right across the street from me, down the street, there was supposed to be an Amazon Go that was supposed to be in there, or was that Amazon Go? Amazon Fresh. And it's not there. 2 years later, it's not there. I end up reading an article basically saying they're shutting these stores down because they are worrying about theft. And it's like, because they don't have enough workers in those stores to make sure nobody's thieving, even though they have all these cameras around. You know, how many of these customers could go and put things over these cameras? You know, gum on them, or break the cameras, or whatever have you. You know, or they can go and decide to put a mask on, go into the store real quick, grab a bunch of shit and go out. You know, other stores have to worry about that too. So for me, it's like, when you have less people working there and you're not paying them a decent wage, these people aren't going to fucking care. They're not going to care that this company's getting stolen from. You know, if you paid them a decent wage and you gave them maybe some benefits, things like that, maybe they would care. That's an idea. And how many of these stores tell you not to get involved? Especially because they have insurance. The insurance covers it. And it sucks when thieves go in and steal shit, because, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I have troubles too. I don't steal shit. I don't steal. So, you know, you have these companies like Amazon that are like, no, we're deciding to not do that, you know, and they're shutting down these stores that they opened up. That store, like I said, nothing there. They're probably paying, it's probably cheaper for them to just pay the rent, you know, and then wait for the lease to end, and then they'll just, you know, that'll be it. So I bet you that's probably what they're doing. They probably got like a 3-year lease or 5-year lease on that building, and they're probably just paying the monthly rent, you know, because it's cheaper for them to do that than for them to put all these fucking cameras in and everything, where it's like, oh, you don't need workers when you can go and have you getting stared at by every fucking, you know, camera that's there. And that's what's weird too, is like going into the store knowing that cameras are constantly on you for every purchase. That's kind of creepy, you know? And it's like, I know like there's going to be like cameras at my local grocery store, but it's not going to be to the extent of how Amazon has their shit. And so I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to shop at like an Amazon Fresh or an Amazon Go or whatever it is. I'm fine. I can shop at my local 7-Eleven for like little things if I want. So yeah, I think the whole argument's stupid. You can go and criticize Amazon for a lot of their bad practices, but still support indie authors who are part of the KU program. So yeah, that's it for this video here. I know there's plenty of people who are in my audience who feel the same exact way as me, who are like, look, I only can go through Kindle Unlimited through most of my books. I've had the conversations with people, you know, so I get it, you know, if there is a way that you can support indie, if you do have an indie bookstore in your neighborhood, and that's the thing, not everybody has an indie bookstore in their neighborhood. You know, if you do have an indie bookstore and there is a way that you can help them out and support them, then do that, you know. But yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And I'll see you all in the next video. All right. Bye.